On today's episode, I'm going to talk about my main reasons for not investing in oil tanker stocks like Nat. And before we go any further, guys, and I get all that hate mail, the first thing I want to say is just because an investor does not want to go with a certain company's stock investment does not mean they're bearish in that company. For example, I don't want to enter companies like oil tankers like Nat, but that does not mean necessarily that I am bearish in the company. So I think that's one great thing about the overall stock market, right? There's so many different types of companies around that you can make money differently from how someone else makes money. But my whole purpose of this video is pretty much just to give my thought process as a long-term investor and why I wouldn't invest in Nat. And from here, I don't want you guys to take it as information to go based on your Nat, on if you should buy Nat or anything. Because one, I'm not a professional, but two, I feel like the information that I'm going to share here can actually help out in different types of companies, not just necessarily Nat. And these are my thought process when I invest in any companies. And these are some rules that I follow that I feel that Nat does not make for me. And I do think one of the greatest assets for each investor is their plan. If you have a plan, you know what to do when things go a certain way. And when you don't have a plan, or if you steer off from your plan, when you go into uncharted waters and things don't go the way you wanted them to go, things can go really bad really quick, and that's where you end up losing money. And for me, the main thing for me to do is make money. So I don't want to break my rules and do something that I normally wouldn't do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and let's get started. So first, let me just do a quick basic information of what's happening with Nat Stock and why are oil tankers happening just popping and dropping right now. So the main reason these companies are jumping so high right now is one, there is a huge oil production happening. Two, there is a very low demand of oil at the moment, especially with everything being shut down. The demand has even dropped. So with the increase of production and the decrease of demand, it has made a huge impact in places where you can store oil, and they're running out of room of where to store this oil. So then you have companies like Nat, which are oil tanker stocks. So normally what these companies do is they pick up an oil from one place and go drop it off at a different location. But right now, since there's no one, even though they're producing, there's a huge production, there's not huge demand for oil. But there is a huge demand for a place to store oils. So what Nat and all these oil tankers are doing are pretty much being movable oil tankers, where they store the oil. They're storing the oil, so like that, they're helping out this capacity need right now of where to store oil. And Nat and the other companies are actually know that this is a great time to take advantage, so they are charging an up fees to what they normally charge in their oil transport and now in their oil storage. And this is helping these companies that usually have a very fixed cost. So most of these fixed costs are already set because they just pay crew, they pay oil, and they pay for ship repairs, pretty much all set already. And now they're collecting a lot more revenue, so their margins for these upcoming quarters are gonna be dramatically crazy. And this is going to help out these companies because one, they're going to be able, most of these companies actually have a nice balance sheet where they have pretty low debt. So now what they're even do is even going to become a better balance sheet where they're going to continue to use that extra margins to pay down all that debt, which again is going to make these companies' balance sheet look 100 times better than they were. And actually, guys, before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit that thumbs up and the bell. It helps the small channel out so much and I truly appreciate it. Also, I have a Discord group with some great members. The link to the Discord group is posted in the description and also in the pinned comment. So feel free. I have a lot of great new investors, old investors, even average investors there just discussing. So feel free to take a look and join the channel. All right, so that's the main reason for the jump. Now, what's the main reasons for the drop? If we take a look just in the past 6 months, right? If you picked up at the bottom and got out at the peak in that stock, you've made about 200%. You've pretty much tripled, right? You tripled your money in a matter of a month, and that's actually pretty impressive. But now if you picked up at the bottom and you're sitting at where you're at right now, you're down about 30%. And I know, unfortunately, there might be a few people there that might be sweating right now because you picked up way up there. And why has that big drop happened? I do feel like the stock market, again, I've been investing for a very long time and I have spent thousands and thousands of hours in the stock market. And this is just from pure experience. For me, the stock market, what I sense to be is more of a discount type place. And what I mean discount is this company already has to affect, it's already priced in to some effect the price action of future movements for the stock. So why do I think these companies were jumping up? Because that huge demand of price keep going up of the company's charge, right? They were charging higher margins per day, and it just kept going up and keep going up and going up. The unknown of how much that can keep going up drove that price up, because there was that unknown. How many more days is this, are the prices gonna go up? How many more days is this gonna last? It does seem that at one point it did peak, and in the most recent weeks, especially in this week, crude tanker rates have decreased. They are still pretty much higher compared to where they were just a few months ago, but they are lower compared to this peak. For example, here in the Middle East, China rate has dropped about 19% for a 10 straight decline, and earnings have dropped about 23% from their daily rates. And you see this rates from Caribbean, United States, Gulf, Aframax tanker shipments slumped 27%. Here, cross Mediterranean rates plunged 37%. So now that the rates are dropping a bit, is also another unknown. How much more are they gonna drop? And that's what's scaring investors. And because there is an unknown of how much more is dropping, this is what's driving the price down. Again, this is not facts, these are just based on my opinion. But one good thing I do see, one thing I do see is, even though this company has dropped a lot, even though with all these news that rates are still dropping, this company is still pretty high. It's still above where it was. Even if you picked up at the bottom, you're still up over 100%. So you still doubled your money, which I think is pretty great. So congratulations to any investor that got in through there. Just a quick basic knowledge of why the company is going up and why the company has dropped. And now let's start with my points of why I wouldn't invest in this company. And actually the first one is actually pretty simple. Is one, I don't know the market. Like you heard from me, I just gave some basic information, and there's probably so much more in there that I just don't know that market so well. So why would I invest in a company where I don't know the market about? And I think everybody should be thinking about, what do you know about this market that's making you bullish? Do you just know exactly what everybody else in YouTube is posting, or do you know more? Obviously, in my last video, I saw some guys, I forget his name, but there was about 2 or 3 gentlemen that actually posted about a 4 or 5 paragraph paper about the market and why they believe this company will do well. And that to me tells me that these people know what they're doing. But if you can't do that, then how much do you really know about the market, about the company? For example, all the companies that I invest in, and if you guys have been watching my channel, I post about companies that I know a lot about, and I can pretty much talk about all the companies that I'm invested. I can probably easily write a 4 or 5 page paper on the market growth, on the company growth, on management, on everything. And I think that's one thing when picking a stock, you should at least know some form of knowledge of it. And like I said, I don't know much about oil tankers, so that's my first reason. My second reason is I don't invest in one-time events. And some people might argue with me, and feel free to argue with me, right? I would love to have discussions in the comments, and that's what I really want to do. I want to learn more about this. So if you guys disagree with any points, feel free to post on the comments, and I would like to see other members have a discussion there. But my second reason is I don't invest in one-time event. And my one-time event here is because of COVID-19, there is a huge decrease of demand right now of oil. Also, due to the production, this production jump that's happening between Russia and the Middle East, it has also increased the demand. So both those things have actually came at the perfect time and have actually just rippled this effect dramatically. So to me, even though many might argue that this one-time event is a one-time event that will actually last for many quarters, at the end of the day, even 3 quarters for me is short-term. I'm a long-term investment where I'm looking at 5-year investment, and for me, a few 2-3 quarters of of investment is just not something to catch my eye. Like I mentioned, right, all the companies that I want to, I'm looking for a company that has a growth. All right, so now my third reason is and then some of these companies actually kind of merged together. My third reason is I'm only looking for long-term investments, and this actually goes with number 1 and number 2. So with number 1, I mentioned I need to understand the market. If I understand the market, I know where these companies are going. One of the biggest markets that I'm pretty bullish on right now is esports. I literally have a 10-page paper on just the esports market, on the past growth of companies and the past growth of viewers, of revenue, of advertisement revenue, of just the esports segment. So for me, I understand that market and I am bullish of it. And in the long term, that market I feel will continue to grow. So that's why I'm in there long term. The second, I like I mentioned, I don't invest in one-time events. So for being in the long-term investments, that doesn't mean a one-time thing. This is something that I want to continue to grow. So my third reason is looking for long-term investments. And that one company is like, Jose, how can you find a long-term investment? And I think that's pretty much, that has to go with I think just experience, and again just understanding the market. For example, one-time events, many people could have believed that Facebook, for example, Facebook could have been a one-time event. It's like it could have been MySpace, right? Facebook was a social application and that was it. Many investors could have been like, hey, there's gonna be the next MySpace, so let's screw that, this is a one-time event. But then if you knew the market of advertisement, and if you knew the market that this place that so many eyes are going to be glued to the TV, and the advertisement business is just starting to go right now in the internet, this was a great place that in the future could have been it would be a place where advertisement would be a machine. And that's what actually happens. And right, that's very, it's very crazy to try to think like that, right? But I think that's especially as a growth stock investor, you need to kind of see where you want these companies to go. And another thing, you need to have a strong management that believes in where they want to go or how they're trying to achieve their certain goals. The fourth and final reason is actually because of past history. What I wanted to take a look at is to see any other events in revenue growth where there was a huge increase of revenue, which is what we're going to see these upcoming quarters, right? In these upcoming quarters, the biggest thing you're going to see for these companies is a huge increase of revenue, right? With all the rates being up, and first quarter is probably, this upcoming quarter was probably good. The next quarter is going to be better. And when have we seen that? We did see that in 2012. In 2012, this company revenue grew about 37%. Then the next year, this company's revenue grew about 86%. Now this is 2 years, and many people are just talking about a few quarters, but right now we're taking a look at years. So imagine this, imagine you in 2011 investing in Nat when this company's revenue growth had just declined, but the upcoming 2 years would have been pretty strong for it in revenue growth. You would have think in 2011 this company's stock price is actually much lower than when it was in 2013. But if we take a look at 2011, in 2011, it was actually pretty high. And look, it just kept dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And let's take a look at the end of 2013. By the end of 2013, this company had lost about 2/3 of its total valuation. So again, this is not just historical data, does not show what's going to happen in the future, but I thought it was a pretty cool point to see a moment in time when revenue jumped up pretty high for a company, and this company started to see strong revenue growth. What ended up happening to stock price? Obviously, the events there could have been completely different. But again, that is just my lack of knowledge of the market. So those are my main reason, guys. And like I said, I hope this does not have to be necessarily something against Nat Stock, but I do think a great thing that you can grab from this video is ways to understand when to enter a company. And I think these are great tips that, especially me, that I follow when entering a company. I need to make sure I understand the market. I need to make sure it's not just a one-time thing that I'm investing in. I need to make sure that this is something that might last me in the long term. I'm a long-term investor in growth stock. I'm looking for companies that will provide me, that I would get 10 times my money, 20 times, maybe even 100 times my money in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And that's what I'm here for. And I do think that's one of the greatest ways to make money in the stock market. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys thought. Make sure to post on the comments. And thank you guys. Take care and have a good time.